how can we create and edit our own internal Notion templates so we can manage our projects like this, or we can prepare for our meetings like that? Let's say that you just downloaded this new Notion template in order to keep track and manage all of your meetings. But then every time that you create a new one, what you see on the inside, it's just a simple area to track your notes. But for your specific case in your business, you would love to have a bit more detail on your meetings. But even though you keep adding these sections inside the meeting, afterwards, every time you create a new one, that doesn't seem to be saving anywhere. So the only thing that loads is the original template that it had. So let's see in this video how can you manage and edit these internal Notion templates, and how you can even create multiple internal Notion templates. In this case, for example, if you have different kinds of meetings or different kinds of projects when you're working with your clients. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Anna Cuixart and I'm a Notion consultant for business owners. So in this channel, I'm going to teach you how to use this tool in order to manage your team and business optimized from one single place. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's come back to this example. Let's say that you just got this new Notion template in order to manage and prepare for all your meeting notes. And in here we can see two different scenarios. One scenario is that every time that you create a new meeting, you already see that it has something on the inside. So it has this internal structure prepared for you to be completed. Let's say that in this example, we just see a section, a simple section to keep track of all of the notes that you're going to have during this meeting. Or we can have another scenario that's every time that you create a new meeting, it's completely empty on the inside. And this is for sure going to happen if you are the one creating your own database and you are fully starting from scratch. What does it mean? Like, what's the information that we see in here? Every time that we're working with Notion databases, we have two different areas. One area, let's call it, is the upper section, where we're going to have all of the properties for that database. As in this example, we have what's the date of this meeting, or what's the meeting type that we're going to select. But then we have what we call the inside, or the body of that element or that meeting, which is the part that we see on the inside. And in here, we have the second option of just having it empty and just going in here and directly just writing random stuff or saving random pictures every time we have a meeting, for example. Or we can already prepare our internal structure, so every time we have a new meeting, we have a full body in here complete, not only with notes, but maybe even with a bit more detail on what are we going to prepare for and what's the structure of this meeting. So let's see how you can create and adapt these internal Notion templates. So every time we create a new meeting, we already have all this internal structure ready automatically there and prepared for us to start working for this meeting. And how you can even create multiple templates in case you have like multiple and different kinds of meetings and you want to have one specific template for each one of the meetings that you're going to have. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to do in order to create these specific internal Notion templates, or to check and modify if there are already any existing ones, is to go to the database you want to work with. In this case, we need the meeting notes. And then you're going to go at the very top right section and you're going to click this arrow next to the new. In here, you will see if you already have any internal templates that are created, or if you're creating something from scratch and you have none at all. So in this case, for example, we see that we have the empty one, which is the one you get by default. It's like every time you create a new meeting, everything on the inside is going to be empty. And then we have the second option, which is the new meeting, which this is the usual kind that you would get if you are downloading a Notion template from someone or from the original Notion marketplace that are like already structured on the inside. So in order to modify them, you just need, or to delete them or to work with them, you just need to click on the three dots in here. And now let's click on the edit. Now you will see that we get this view, and it might seem like we're just creating a new meeting as we were doing before, but you will see that at the very top it says you're currently editing a template inside meeting notes, which is going to tell us that this is the template that we can prepare and predefine. So afterwards, anytime we create a new element, so a new meeting in this database, this is the internal structure that we're going to get automatically every time. As I was saying, let's say that the one that we just downloaded from the marketplace, it only has this notes section, but for us it's not enough because we also wanted to track what are the topics and what are the tasks that are going to come as a result of this meeting. So I just like copy and paste what we created before. But the idea is that you just go in here and begin creating literally like, okay, we just want to add a new section, so I'm just going to add a new header. And we're going to check like the notes, the topics, timings and speakers, the tasks, and any pending stuff that we have to discuss, for example. So we're going to add like pending items as well, and just like create a section for them to to discuss in here. We modify whatever we want to show in all of the items that we're going to create in this specific database. So once we're done with it, the only thing we need to save it is to literally click elsewhere. So we click outside of this page, and then this template is going to be automatically saved. But let's take another look before we keep creating new items. So we go again to check our template, and you will see that next to it, we have the option to select which of the internal templates that we have, in this case, the one that's completely empty, or the one that we already prepared the internal structure for it, which one do we want to be loaded every time by default. So every time we create a new meeting, do we want it to be empty, or do we want it to include this internal structure? In this case, as we want to have this the internal template, we just click in this one. But let's say that for a while, we just want the empty one to be the one by default. We just click on the three dots and we click as set as default. And it's going to say, do you want it in this view or everywhere? I always recommend to set this for everywhere. And now we see that the default one is the other one. But for this specific case, we want to set as default the internal template that we just created. Perfect. So now what's going to happen is that every time we click new and we create a new item, so a new meeting, we're finally going to see that everything and like the whole structure that we wanted for our internal meetings, it's already here. So now we can track the notes and then manage the pending items, manage the topics, timings, and speakers, and finally define the tasks that are going to come once we finish the meeting. And this is a very, very simple example, as in what internal structure do we want to see in this example for meetings, but we can take this many different ways and to move it a step further to be like, okay, so then you're telling me that we can have like some things by default every time we create a new meeting. So for example, if let's say that I have different kind of meetings. Let's say that I have project review meetings, strategy session meetings, and one-on-one meetings. Can we have one specific structure, internal structure for each one of them? And the answer is yes. So let's adapt and see how we would do that. In this case, as I was saying, we only have one example for a meeting, and we're going to call this just project review meetings, for example. So we just go edit, and we're going to see, we're going to set the name as a template as project review meeting. And we're going to add new, so we know like every time we create new ones, we will understand that this is like a new item that we're creating. And this is the structure that we want for it. Okay, perfect. We already had that one. Now let's create another one, but modify the interior part so we can adjust it for the one-on-ones, for example. And in this case, we have two options. If you want to create a template that's very similar to a previous one that you have already created, you can just go in here, click duplicate, and then you can modify it from that. Or you can also just create one from scratch. In this case, let's just create one from scratch so we can see the whole process. And this is going to be called new one-on-one meeting. And then we can always add, if you want to, the icon in here to like make it easier to understand which meetings are you going to create. And in here, instead of just like notes and tasks and pending stuff, we're gonna see what were the previous goals that you set. Just to show you a very simple example of what you would do with like your boss or like your team to make sure that you keep track of like everyone. Okay, so what were like the previous goals that you set together from your last review? And then let's add a few other sections in here. So let's leave it like that, for example. For the one-on-one meetings, we're gonna discuss first of all the previous goals or previous things that you discussed with your manager. Then we can also check what are the recent challenges that that person of the team is facing. And then you can together decide what are the next steps that you can do in order to move forward to the goals that you were setting and to progress in your professional career in this company. So we just modified the internal structure that we want for this kind of meetings. And there's something else that we can also do. So far, the only thing that we're modifying for this template, internal templates, it's like the body and the inside of these new meetings. But another thing that we can also pre-prepare to be loaded automatically is if there are like any status that we want on the properties or like to whom is it assigned to for tasks and projects or any tags that we want to add to it. So for example, in this case, for the meeting type, we're already going to assign the meeting type as one-on-one, so we don't have to do that manually every time we create a new one-on-one meeting. So we already assigned this to it, so we can click elsewhere, And now we will see that we have two different templates. Well, actually three with the empty one. So we have the previously one that we created for the new project review. We have the one-on-one meetings, and now we have the one that's completely empty. So what we can do now is to go a step further and say, let's say that the one that's by default is the one that's completely empty. And then after we have created this meeting, we will choose which one of the internal templates do we want to be loaded so we can prepare for that meeting. So we just say the empty one as default. And now every time we create a new meeting, there's nothing loaded, like nothing on the top and nothing on the inside, but we're going to see all of the internal options directly on the body and the internal part of that meeting. So in here we can choose, do we want it to be, is it a project review meeting that we're creating, or is it a one-on-one? In this case, let's say that's a one-on-one. And then as soon as we click that, you will see that the whole template is automatically loaded, even the tag that we can see in here as in one-on-one, which is hidden on the properties of this meeting. And then we're good to go, and this is ready to like start preparing for the meeting before we have that one-on-one with that team member of our team, or to prepare for that project review or client review in case you're also working on that other side. So just by following these steps, you can see that you can create for the same database, you can create as many different internal templates as you want to. You can even make one of them as default, so it's the basic one that's always loading, but in case you need to create another one, you can always have it. And then if at some point you just want to delete one of those templates, you can always just come in here and click delete in order to just delete them completely. All right, so this is it for today, but as always, if you have any question about how to use these internal Notion templates, how to modify them or delete them, or anything about how to use Notion for your team and business, go ahead and leave them in the comments so I can jump in there, answer them, and whoever is watching this video later on, we can all learn together. And if you're looking for a Notion consultant in order to implement Notion for your business, or maybe rearrange and optimize all of your team operations from one single place, go check the links, because you can book a free discovery call with me so we can meet. You can explain me what are you currently going through, and I can show you how can you move forward. Thank you so much for making it this far, and I will see you in the next one.